We are going straight to the news that's breaking at 9. Yemen's Houthis have joined the Israel-Palestine war. Houthis say they have launched a large number of drones and missiles towards Israel, adding that the attacks will continue until, quote-unquote, Israeli aggression does. This is the Houthi spokesperson, Yahya Sarria.
With the help of God, our armed forces have launched a large barrage of ballistic and cruise missiles, as well as a significant number of drones at various targets of the Israeli army in the occupied territories.
Israel has warned of a possible hostile aircraft intrusion. It also said that a surface-to-surface missile was fired from an area of the Red Sea. In response, for the first time in this war, Israel has used its long-range Arrow air defense system. Israeli troops have also entered Hamas's vast network of tunnels in Gaza. As of 9 p.m. IST and 5:30 p.m. local time, Israel claims it has begun attacking Hamas operatives inside the tunnel. Here's the paradox. As Israeli defense forces zero in on their prime target, the tunnel, the war is expanding and pulling in more regional players. Where is this headed? And where is the end? Also, will Netanyahu be able to see the war to its end? Will the Israeli Prime Minister survive the war? Bibi has made one thing crystal clear. The war is not over, not yet. Ceasefire is not an option. A ceasefire, Netanyahu says, will be the same as surrendering. And Israel is not going to surrender. What will it do then? Netanyahu says his country will fight, it will fight until this battle is won. That's his quote. And here's our question. Will Bibi survive the war? Chances are he could be gone from office before the battle's lost and won. Israel's generals have turned against Netanyahu. This is retired General Naam Tibon. He is calling for Netanyahu to resign. Tibon recently gave an interview to Israel's Channel 12. He said, and I quote, "People have lost their entire sense of security in the past 3 weeks, and therefore I say directly to Netanyahu, take responsibility. Resign now, it will help the campaign." What kind of country risks leadership change in the middle of a war? Tibon is citing the United Kingdom. The British replaced Neville Chamberlain with Winston Churchill in the middle of World War II. So could Netanyahu be the next Chamberlain? Noam's sentiments resonate with a section of Israel's armed forces. On the 7th of October, thousands of Israeli reservists were planning to protest against Netanyahu. It was their weekly campaign against Bibi's politics and policies, especially the judicial overhaul. This protest was called off following Hamas's attack. The reservists prioritized their duty to protect the country. They prioritized security. But here's the thing, the unity against Hamas does not really mean a unified support for Netanyahu's wartime leadership. Also, this war has now become a fight for more than just Israel's security. It has become a war against Gaza's children. For Netanyahu, it appears to have become personal, almost a case of misdirected anger over being caught napping. Whatever be the case, the result is disastrous. The endless bloodshed and the rising civilian death toll is quickly making Israel the villain in this war, not the victim of Hamas's attacks. It is changing the world's perception of the Jewish state. And you know what? Tibon is right. The bad press is not helping Israel's campaign. Netanyahu knows this, but he also knows that once the war ends, questions will follow. The call for accountability will follow, as will judgment. The last time Israel was caught napping was in 1973. There was a surprise attack on Israel on Yom Kippur Day. The attack was led by Egypt and Syria. Golda Meir was in office then. She was the prime minister. She oversaw the victory, but it was not enough to save her political career. The pressure grew from Meir to resign, to pay the price for ignoring warnings from Jordan's King Hussein. He had warned back then that Israel had a war coming with Egypt and Syria, that it was imminent. Meir was forced to step down. That war is etched in Netanyahu's memory. In 1973, Bibi was a student in the United States of America. He had taken the first flight out of Boston to fight in the war. Today, he's the prime minister. He is in Golda Meir's office. and he's facing similar charges. Netanyahu too ignored warnings from neighbors. In fact, Israeli news outlet Ynet had reported that Egypt's intelligence minister, General Abbas Kamel, had personally called Netanyahu days before the attack. Kamel told Bibi that something unusual was going to happen. Bibi was warned about a terrible operation. He did nothing, and Israelis know this. 3 days into the war, there were open calls for Netanyahu to resign. Look now at what this op-ed says. Hamas's surprise attack against Israel is the worst failure in the country's history. It is more serious even than the failure of Yom Kippur. On the 12th of October, Dialogue Center released a poll. In it, 86% of respondents said that the surprise attack from Hamas was the failure of Netanyahu's leadership. 94% of respondents said that the government must bear some responsibility for the lack of security preparedness. 75% said that the government holds most of the responsibility. The October 7th attacks exposed a systemic intelligence and military failure. And above all, the failure of Netanyahu's leadership. Netanyahu can hope that revenge will give Israel a sense of closure, perhaps, and perhaps absolve him of the crime of risking Israel's security. But not every Israeli is mocking Palestinians on TikTok. Most of them don't want to see children being killed, let alone have those children's blood on their hands. Israelis simply want the hostages back. They want their family members back. They want peace, security, and moderation. According to a poll published in Maariv newspaper, almost 49% Israelis want to hold off on an invasion of Gaza. What is Netanyahu offering? For starters, not moderation. He has sent troops into Gaza. Tanks are closing in on Gaza City. Israel's economy is feeling the friction. The cost of the war is reportedly giving Israel a Wuhan virus-like shock. Israeli businesses are suffering. 300 of Israel's most senior economists have called on Netanyahu to divert state funds to deal with the damage from the war. These economists say that the war could cost Israel tens of billions of shekels. What they didn't say is that it could also cost Netanyahu his career. Last Saturday, Netanyahu was asked during a press conference whether he was responsible for what happened on October 7th. Bibi said everyone will have to give answers to hard questions once the war is over. Not everyone in Israel wants to wait until then. In my next story, I want to speak directly to the young professionals watching me right now. Those who are hustling daily, hourly. Those who are locked in the rat race. Those who are trying to do it all. It's time you slow down. Your health demands it. A dire warning has come from India's apex health research body, the Indian Council of Medical Research, or ICMR. A new study has found that there is a rise in heart attacks among young people, specifically those young people who have recovered from a severe case of COVID-19. How many of you have been infected once, if not twice? How many in your family have been infected once, if not twice? As of 2021, when the virus was at its peak, a majority of coronavirus cases in India affected people between the ages of 31 and 40 years. So the statistics are alarming, and this study should serve as a wake-up call for all of us to slow down. This warning was echoed by India's Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia. He cautions COVID patients, especially those who had suffered severe symptoms, to avoid hard labor, to avoid strenuous exercise for at least 1 or 2 years after recovery. Why? Because it could lead to a heart attack. The evidence has been staring at us in the face for a while now. Statistics from 2022 show a dangerous trend. There's been a rise in the number of unfortunate incidents, young men and women in their 20s and 30s dying from heart attacks. The reasons? Either long COVID symptoms or COVID treatment side effects. Cut to 2023, we told you about death on the dance floor last week. There have been alarming reports of heart attacks during Garba nights this year. These are nights of frenzy, dance, high-octane music, high adrenaline moves. Imagine 1 second you're dancing and the next you could collapse. So much so that organizers in Gujarat, in India, have kept medical teams on standby at venues. At least 10 people died of heart attacks during Garba nights in Gujarat in just 24 hours. The youngest victim was 17 years old. Imagine that, a heart attack at 17. Let me now circle back to the ICMR study. It was focused on answering one question: why are young adults between 18 and 45 years dying of heart attacks in India? There are multiple reasons, including family history of sudden death, being hospitalized for COVID-19 in the past, binge drinking, and intense physical activity. The study also specifies that COVID-19 vaccination did not increase the risk of sudden death among young adults. In fact, it reduced that risk. Who can forget the damage caused by the pandemic to our bodies? But can COVID-19 damage your heart? Well, Johns Hopkins cardiologists say yes. How? Because of lack of oxygen. You see, the virus caused inflammation and fluid to fill up the air sacs in the lungs, so less oxygen can reach the bloodstream. Simply put, if you have recovered from COVID-19, your heart had to work harder to pump blood through your body. Research also shows that several COVID-19 patients are still complaining of fluctuating heart rates. And this is not related to exertion of any kind. So if you have shortness of breath, do consult your doctor immediately. Everyone we know was affected by COVID-19 either directly or indirectly. More than 2 years since the Wuhan virus destroyed lives, we still don't know everything about this virus. Take the case of long COVID, the condition where symptoms linger for weeks, months, or even years. It's all still a big mystery to doctors. Some complain of chronic pain, brain fog, shortness of breath, intense fatigue, chest pain. So once again, I'd like to say, if you have any of these, do not ignore these symptoms. What does all this tell us? There was a time when good heart health was considered a privilege of youth. But no, we cannot be complacent anymore. Our lifestyles do not afford us that luxury anymore. It is the age of hustle culture. We are striving for perfection in all spheres. We want to clock our hours at work for that big bonus or that big promotion. We want to work out not a balanced fitness regimen, but the latest workout trend. Forget a leisurely walk. High-intensity workouts are the norm. Forget a balanced meal, a fad diet, or a TikTok trend is more attractive. The availability of processed foods at all times, the availability of any fruit round the year, sugar-free drinks, zero-fat sauces. We've moved so far away from the basics that we laugh at a simple Indian meal. 10 heart attacks among the young in 24 hours. Such headlines are not and should not be ignored. Wake up and look after your heart. It's high time we accept that the pandemic has changed our bodies. It's time to accept and live the new normal, and this is your guide to looking after your post-pandemic body. Start listening to your body. If you don't feel like working out, take a moment and ask yourself, are you not in the mood, or is there fatigue? Is your body asking for rest? One workout missed is better than weeks of bed rest. Fix your diet. Don't follow fad diets. Stop chasing extreme transformations. Ditch that TikTok trend and start creating that perfect plate. A balanced mix of healthy fats, protein, carbohydrates, fiber. Start making your own meals instead of ordering in. Your heart will thank you later. Sleep. It's not a luxury but a necessity today. Try and get at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep a day. Stop doom scrolling and switch off your phone. Prioritize regular health checkups. Prevention is always better than cure. The pandemic has taught us that we cannot be complacent. Treat your body well. It's the only one you'll ever have. And lastly, it is the beginning of festivities. No matter which part of the world you're watching me from, I want to ask you to slow down. Celebrate with your family, but don't ignore signs of stress, mental and physical. Listen to your body. Excess of anything is not good. So as you get ready to dance away the night, just remember that. Authorities in China, meanwhile, are struggling to contain the tributes pouring in for the former Chinese premier. While Chinese censors have been working overtime to stifle the posts on the internet, students, on the other hand, are being instructed not to express their grief publicly. Our next report brings you more. Take a look.
The sudden death of China's former second-ranking leader Li Keqiang shocked many people in the country. What surprised Chinese residents and analysts the most was the official Xinhua news agency's obituary that was prepared almost 18 hours after his death. While China's most senior leaders have typically lived long lives, some even past 100 years, Li's sudden death is surrounded by conspiracies. Hours after his demise, a hashtag related to his death on the Chinese social media platform Weibo drew over 1 billion views. On posts about Li, the like button was turned into a daisy, a common flower for funerals in China. And many users commented, "Rest in peace." Others called his death a loss and said Li worked hard and contributed greatly to China. But here's what's strange about his death. On Weibo, almost all comment areas under news related to his death were filtered or removed. The Guardian reported that several posts hailing the deceased leader as an economic reformer were taken down. However, comments that survived read simply, "Have a good journey," or "You will live forever." While Chinese authorities struggle to contain the massive outpouring of tributes, the students have now been instructed not to express their grief publicly beyond the official lines. A notice dispatched to the students at the Guoyan Institute of Aeronautics mentioned that comments about the political situation should not be made. The notice also warned them against holding any public gatherings in the wake of Li Keqiang's death. Although the Chinese authority claimed the ex-premier died of a heart attack, the Chinese Communist Party's panic-stricken response to his death has fueled speculation on Chinese social media sites. Given how countries' senior leaders are known for leading healthy lifestyles and receiving exceptional medical care from the state. China's former premier passed away just months after stepping down from his role. He was 68. The cremation of the former leader will be held on November the 2nd.